welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into something, well, pretty essential for everyone, really personal finance.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're using insights from Cary Siegel, the author of Why Didn't They Teach Me This in School?
Right, that title says it all, doesn't it?
It really does. His whole point is that this crucial life skill, managing money, it's just not taught formally. He saw that gap and wanted to pass on practical advice, starting with his own kids.
And he's got the background to back it up. The source material highlights he was a successful executive and entrepreneur, retired at 45 by actually using these principles.
Exactly. That makes you listen, right? Retiring at 45, he makes this stark point, asks audiences like, who wants to be financially successful? Everyone's hand goes up.
Of course.
Then, okay, who's actually taken a full course on managing personal money? And, hardly any hands stay up. It's a massive gap.
It really is striking. We spend years on, trigonometry or historical dates, but not the basics of handling a paycheck.
He even tells this little story about the ice cream truck when he was a kid. First time he realized, oh, you actually need money for things. Simple, but fundamental.
Yeah. $1 for ice cream, the beginning of it all.
And he does promise to keep it simple, easy to understand, even interesting. He cuts through the usual finance jargon.
But he also lays down a challenge, doesn't he? Pretty bluntly.
Oh, yeah. He basically says, look, if you hear these straightforward ideas and you just don't do anything with them, well, his words were, it's your own damn fault, puts the ownership right on you.
Okay, so let's get into these simple ideas. He boils it down to 3 core things, right? 3 things that if you do them consistently after school starts, you'll likely be okay financially.
That's it. 3 fundamental principles. And the first one is probably the most famous one, maybe the most obvious. Always live below your means.
Sounds simple. Almost too simple.
Yeah.
Yet clearly it's a big hurdle for a lot of people.
It is. And he breaks it down. Your income, what you bring home after taxes, has to be more than what you spend. Period.
He gives those examples, right? Like the millionaire spending even more versus someone on a modest salary saving a bit.
Exactly. Making $10 million but spending $15 million, you're going broke. Making $40K, spending $35K. You're actually in a much better spot, less stress. It's the margin that matters, not just the income number.
And he connects this struggle to our culture, saying something like, we've become pigs, wanting everything instantly.
Yeah, that instant gratification thing. And seeing what others have, the newest phone, the fancy car, and feeling like you need it too, that comparison trap.
But he's careful to say it's not about living like a monk.
No, not at all. It's about conscious choices. Knowing the difference between what you truly need and what you just want, and making sure your spending lines up with your priorities, not trying to impress anyone else.
Okay, so create that buffer, that positive space between income and outgo. Makes sense. What's the second key principle?
This one builds on the first. It's about knowing where the money's actually going. Develop a written budget and track and analyze it every single month.
The B word. Budget. He asks why people hate doing this and says,
It's scary. That's his take.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Facing the reality of your spending isn't always fun.
Right. You might see you're spending way more on, takeaways or subscriptions than you thought. Or realizing you actually can't afford that big purchase right now. It's easier to just not look.
But he frames it as manageable. Says he started doing it himself at 19. Used a shoebox for receipts.
Yeah, exactly. And now it takes him, half an hour a month? It's not this huge time-consuming monster people imagine.
And the benefit is?
Control. Clarity. You know where the money's going, so you can make adjustments. Okay, got to cut back here. Or, hey, I'm doing well in this area. Maybe I can afford that thing. Without tracking, you're just guessing, reacting.
He had that story about the budget helping with an unexpected emergency, didn't he?
Yeah, a really good example. His daughter needed a hospital stay. Insurance didn't cover everything. Big unexpected bill. Right. But because he had the budget, he knew his numbers. He could see, okay, we were planning this vacation. We need to cut back on that spending to cover this medical bill instead of just whacking it on a credit card and paying interest for ages.
So the budget gives you the information to make informed choices when life inevitably throws curveballs.
Exactly. It's about building resilience, not just penny pinching.
Okay. Live below means budget and track monthly. What's the third pillar he emphasizes?
This one he actually credits to an old accounting professor. It's clever. Every time you get a pay increase, take 50% of the increase, just the raise part, and save or invest it.
Oh, I like that. 50% of the increase, not the whole salary jump.
Right. So the other 50% of the raise, you use that to live a little better. Your lifestyle gradually improves. Maybe you upgrade your coffee machine, or plan a slightly nicer trip.
But half of that new money is automatically going towards your future. Savings, investments.
Exactly. It builds up systematically.
Yeah.
Siegel mentioned he actually saved more than 50% of his raises, which, helped him retire at 45. But the 50-50 principle is a great starting point.
It makes saving feel less like a punishment and more like a built-in feature of getting promoted or earning more.
Precisely. And Siegel argues, if you do these three things consistently, live below your means, budget and track, save half your raises. He says it's totally impossible not to do well financially over time. You're always moving forward, not digging yourself into a hole.
It really emphasizes consistency, doesn't it?
Oh.
Okay, so those are the core pillars. But he also talks quite a bit about debt. What's his take there?
Oh, he's very, very clear on debt. His starting point is simple. Debt is bad.
Pretty unambiguous.
Yeah. He might point to huge numbers like the national debt or student loan figures just to show the scale of it, but his real focus is on your personal finances.
He does acknowledge that sometimes it's necessary, right? Like his banker friend's view.
He does mention that counterpoint, yes. But for individuals, he gives very specific, limited exceptions for when debt is okay.
Which are?
Call it an investment in your future earning power. Your first house, basic shelter, an asset. And your first car, necessary transportation for many?
Just the first ones, though. He's strict about that.
Very strict. No debt for the second house, the fancier car later on. He sees that as a trap. Why? Because banks and credit card companies want you in debt. That's how they make billions on the interest you pay when you carry balances.
Right, which leads directly into his advice about credit cards.
Exactly. Given his view on debt, he's pretty prescriptive here. His advice, only have one credit card, unless you absolutely need a separate one for business.
Why just one?
He points out how aggressively they're marketed, and the stats show generally the more cards people have, the more debt they tend to rack up. It just becomes harder to manage, easier to overspend across multiple cards.
And he calls the way they make money a dirty little secret.
Yeah, although it's not really a secret if you think about it. Their whole model relies on most people not paying off the balance each month. That interest is pure profit for them.
So his advice is to flip that.
Yes. Use their money for the grace period, but pay the balance off IME full every single month, no exceptions. That way you get the convenience, maybe some rewards, but you pay zero interest. You beat them at their own game, essentially.
Okay, avoid debt where possible. Limit credit cards, pay them off religiously.
Right.
But what about those unexpected things? Life happens. Medical bills, car trouble.
That's where the emergency fund comes in. He sees it as a non-negotiable part of your budget. It's your safety net.
And it covers both bad surprises, like needing a root canal or paying an insurance deductible.
And potentially good surprises, too, like maybe a last-minute chance to fly to a cousin's wedding, things you didn't plan for but need cash for.
So having that fund means you don't automatically reach for the credit card when the unexpected hits.
Precisely. It prevents those unforeseen costs from derailing your budget or pushing you into high-interest debt. He asks that really effective question. Who hasn't had unexpected stuff pop up every single year? It's gonna happen. You have to plan for it.
And he has that kind of intense idea. The emergency month, January.
Yeah, that's his unique twist. He specifically picks January because it follows the typical holiday overspending in December.
And the idea is to spend almost nothing.
Virtually nothing, is how he puts it. Brown bagging lunches every day, finding free entertainment at home, no non-essential shopping. Just hit the brakes hard on spending for 1 month.
What's the claimed benefit beyond just saving money that month?
He says it resets your mindset about spending, makes you more conscious, can even bring families closer, finding ways to have fun without spending, and it gives your finances a really strong start to the year.
He also had a practical tip for that month, right, about calling suppliers.
Oh yeah, good point. Use that frugal month to call your cable company, phone provider, insurance agent, everyone you pay regularly, and negotiate. Ask for a better rate. He claims you can often save like 15% or more just by asking.
Ties into being an active manager of your finances, not passive.
Absolutely. Which connects to another point he makes. This isn't a one-and-done thing. You need to keep learning.
Right, the ongoing education piece. He suggests what, just an hour a week?
Yeah, dedicate 1 hour per week. Use your phone, read articles. He mentions things like Money Magazine, talk to people who know stuff. Just commit to learning a little bit consistently.
An hour doesn't sound like much.
But do the math. That's 52 hours a year, over 500 hours in a decade. He argues if you put in that consistent effort, you can't help but get smarter about money and make better decisions. He challenges you to be one of the few who actually does it.
Makes sense. He also talks about the psychological side, like peer pressure, keeping up with the Joneses.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one for him. He tells that story about the financial crisis, seeing neighbors struggling, maybe even facing foreclosure, but their kids still had new cars.
While his family was driving the same older car for years.
Exactly, because his priority wasn't impressing the neighbors. It was financial security, his family's long-term goals. It's a powerful reminder to focus on your needs, your wants, your budget, not what everyone else is doing or buying.
Which comes back to that needs versus wants distinction he makes.
Right. He lays out the basics you need. Shelter, transport, food, clothes, water. Then there are the wants, how fancy those things are. A basic apartment versus a penthouse. A reliable used car versus a brand new luxury SUV. Eating at home versus fancy restaurants.
And the key is figuring out your own priorities and then asking the hard question, can I afford this level of want right now?
Precisely. And he lived it himself. He talks about living in a tiny, basic basement apartment right after grad school, even with student debt. Why? Because his priorities were paying down that debt and saving, plus enjoying some affordable fun in New York City, not having a flashy place.
He didn't care about appearances over his goals, like getting a cheap haircut versus saving for early retirement.
Yeah, exactly. What's important is personal. It's your life, your money, not a competition.
And that personal aspect extends strongly into relationships, he argues.
Hugely. He states flat out that money is the #1 cause of arguments in marriages.
Which is ironic because
it's often the least discussed topic seriously when people are dating. You plan everything else, but skip the biggest potential source of conflict.
So his advice is basically talk about it before things get serious.
Absolutely critical. Talk about your financial philosophies, your spending habits. Do you have debt? Because that debt often becomes shared. Goals for the future. He says you need to marry the right financial person, not necessarily someone rich, but someone whose approach to money is compatible with yours.
He also brings up the financial reality of big life decisions, like having kids.
Yeah, he throws out that number like $250,000 to raise a child before college. It's a massive financial commitment. He even jokes about the cost of diapers for his 5 kids.
It's a real cost you need to understand and plan for if you choose to have a family.
Exactly. Open communication, shared understanding, compatible habits, crucial for relationships and finances.
Okay, so we've covered budgeting, debt, relationships. What about the dream of getting rich quick? Lottery tickets, hitting it big.
He basically dismisses that. Says it's incredibly rare. Winning the lottery, becoming an overnight tech billionaire, it happens, but it's like lightning strikes. Not a strategy. He says he hasn't personally known anyone who got wealthy that way.
So instead, he promotes
getting rich slowly, consistent effort, applying these principles over time, hard work, building wealth steadily. And he stresses enjoying the journey along the way, finding satisfaction, even when you're being frugal towards a goal.
And that hard work piece connects to keeping your job, right? Financial security often starts with stable income. He has those 3 Ps.
Yes, the 3 Ps for job security. First is passion. Show you care. Be enthusiastic about your work. Don't just phone it in.
Makes sense. Second.
Persistence. This means reliability, consistency. Do your work, meet deadlines, follow through. He contrasts smart people who are lazy with less brilliant people who are persistent hard workers.
And argues the hard worker is often more valuable.
Often, yes. And hard work combined with intelligence. Unbeatable. He even suggests telling interviewers flat out, I'll work harder than anyone else here.
Okay, passion, persistence. And the 3rd P.
Politeness. Treat everyone with respect. From the CEO down to the cleaning staff, everyone.
He had that great anecdote about the chairman who looked like a custodian.
That's such a powerful story. He treated this casually dressed older guy politely, shared his passion for the business, and only later found out it was the chairman. That politeness, that genuine respect, apparently helped his career later. It shows you never know. And basic decency always matters.
So passion, persistence, politeness, keys to keeping your job, which underpins your whole financial plan.
Exactly. He sees them as crucial for that income stability.
So wrapping it all up, Siegel's final message seems to be one of personal responsibility.
Absolutely. That line, it's all up to you. He says, stop blaming the banks or your parents for not teaching you or whatever. The information is out there now. You have the choice now to learn and take control.
It's really a shift from feeling like a victim of circumstance to being empowered to act.
That's it perfectly. You have agency. learn this stuff, apply it consistently, and he's confident you'll see positive results.
So reflecting on this whole deep dive into Cary Siegel's principles, the big takeaway isn't really about becoming a millionaire overnight. It's more fundamental.
Right. It's that financial success isn't just about how much you make, it's about how well you manage what you have. And even if you weren't taught this stuff in school, you absolutely can learn it and apply it now.
And the framework is pretty clear. Live below your means, make and use a budget every month, save half your raises, be smart about debt and credit cards.
Build that emergency fund, keep learning, set your own priorities instead of chasing others, talk money with your partner, and bring those 3 Ps, passion, persistence, politeness, to your work life.
It's a practical system built on habits. So maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. If you didn't get this education growing up, what would happen if you committed just that 1 hour a week, starting now?
Yeah, think about the compound effect of that consistent learning and applying these principles over the next 5 years, 10 years. Where could that take you financially?
Something to definitely mull over. Maybe just pick one small thing from this discussion and try putting it into practice this week.